The Dyatlov Pass Incident, the Mountain of the Dead. I never should have gone back to that place. It started as a simple research project, an investigation into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, the Dyatlov Pass Incident. I was obsessed with the story. 9 seasoned hikers found dead under circumstances so bizarre that even the Soviet government could only describe the cause as an unknown compelling force. Their tent torn from the inside out, their bodies scattered across the snow, some with massive internal injuries, but no external wounds. One missing her tongue, radiation levels on their clothes. And the strangest part? No sign of an attacker, no tracks in the snow. I had studied it for years, digging through declassified Soviet files, interviewing experts, even speaking to the families of the victims. But it wasn't enough. I needed to see the place with my own eyes. So in February of 2023, I found myself standing at the foot of Kholat Syakhl, the Mountain of the Dead. The air was razor-sharp, each breath slicing my lungs with frozen needles. The sky above was a dull, suffocating gray, and the landscape stretched out in endless, snow-covered desolation. My team consisted of 3 others: Victor, a Russian mountaineer who had been my guide; Elena, a journalist documenting our trip; and Sam, a scientist specializing in anomalous weather patterns. We set up camp in the same spot where Dyatlov's group had pitched their ill-fated tent. The wind howled like a wounded animal, whipping against the fabric of our shelter. Something about this place felt wrong, not just eerie, but deeply, fundamentally unnatural. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant groaning of ice shifting beneath the snow. That night, I woke up to something scratching against the tent. It was faint, almost imperceptible beneath the wind. But as I listened, my blood ran cold. It wasn't the sound of an animal or the wind moving debris. It was deliberate, slow, testing the fabric. I turned to wake Victor, but the moment I moved, the sound stopped. For the next hour, I lay awake, listening. Nothing. Finally, I drifted back into a restless sleep. The next evening, as we prepared to document the site, Elena pointed at the sky. "Do you see that?" she whispered. At first, I thought it was a trick of the atmosphere, a refraction of light against the icy clouds. But then the orbs moved, 3 of them, glowing with an eerie golden hue, hovering in the distance. "Ball lightning," Sam suggested, though his voice was uncertain. "No way," Victor muttered. "That is not lightning." We watched, transfixed, as the lights danced in the sky, weaving patterns too controlled to be natural. Then, without warning, one of the orbs shot downward at an impossible speed, vanishing behind a ridge. A second later, a deep, guttural boom shook the ground beneath our feet. Elena grabbed my arm. "We need to leave. Now." But Victor was already moving toward the ridge, his flashlight bobbing against the darkness. "We came here for answers. We're getting them." Against every instinct screaming at me to turn back, I followed. The first thing we saw was the tattered remains of a tent, old, half buried in the ice. Not ours. Dyatlov's. Sam inhaled sharply. "No, that's impossible. They took the evidence back in 1959. I reached out and touched the fabric. It was real, tangible, frozen stiff with age. And then we saw the footprints. Not human. Whatever had made them walked on 2 legs, but the feet were elongated, unnaturally thin, with deep claw marks where the toes should have been. The tracks circled the tent multiple times, pressing deeper into the snow. Proof that something had watched them, something that had waited. A movement caught my eye, just beyond the tree line. A tall, spindly shape, standing motionless against the white expanse. My breath hitched. The figure tilted its head, and then it moved. Not walked, not ran, just shifted. One moment it was near the trees, The next, it was 10 feet closer. I opened my mouth to scream, but Victor grabbed my wrist, pulling me backward. "Don't make a sound." His voice was barely audible. Elena was already retreating, her face white as death. Sam, however, was frozen in place, staring in horror at the approaching figure. Then came the whisper. Not from Sam, not from any of us, from everywhere. A low, inhuman murmur, like hundreds of voices speaking at once, just beneath the threshold of understanding. Sam dropped, his body convulsed, his eyes rolling back. Blood trickled from his nose, from his ears, his skin turning a sickly shade of gray. "We have to go," I shouted. We ran, but the whispers followed. I don't remember much of the escape, just fragmented images. Elena sobbing, her camera abandoned in the snow. Victor dragging Sam's limp body across the ice. The lights in the sky flickering like dying stars. And the things moving around us, just beyond the edge of vision. We reached our tent. It was shredded. The snow was red. Sam was dead. His body lay twisted in an unnatural position, as if something had thrown him with incredible force. His face, oh God, his face was frozen in an expression of unspeakable terror. His mouth locked open in a silent scream. Then the final horror. Sam's tongue was missing. A sound like a thunderclap exploded around us. The wind roared, and something massive moved in the darkness. We never saw it, only felt its presence. And then nothing. We woke up at base camp the next morning. No memory of how we got there. Victor refused to speak. Elena left journalism altogether. And me? I wrote down everything I could remember, but I could never explain it. 2 weeks later, Victor was found dead in his apartment. They said it was suicide. I know better. Elena disappeared in 2024. No trace. No sign of struggle. Just gone. And now I hear the whispers. At night. In my dreams. And sometimes, when I close my eyes too long, I see the figure, tilting its head, waiting. And I know it's coming for me next.